Created in the 1960s, the Mississippi River Gulf outlet, more commonly known as the MRGO, afforded a shorter path for commercial shipping vessels between the city of New Orleans and the Gulf of Mexico. An unintended consequence of this man-made waterway was a rapid rate of saltwater introduction to a historically freshwater marsh, which urged the damming of the channel and also construction of a massive storm protection wall. These huge changes in salinity and topography have introduced many different fish species to the area.
You know, a lot of people would rather just be hands-off and let nature do its thing. You know, and they want to catch speckled trout 5 minutes from the dock, you know, like we've always done. But that's really not a natural system. That's not the way this system is supposed to operate.
We have a tendency to think, oh, this moment is exactly how it's always been. But this is a system that does change. There's more fresh water, sometimes there's more salt water.
We team up with the Vanishing Paradise initiative and a few other passionate outdoorsmen to learn about this unique area of our state known as the Golden Triangle.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Global Outdoors. Find your next adventure and share your experiences with others by downloading the Global Outdoors mobile app or visiting globaloutdoors.com.
Every day, we strive to preserve traditions that have spanned generations.
Around every turn of the bayou, Mother Nature reveals unique people, places, and experiences.
And the bounty of animals and fish. Well, in Louisiana, we just call that lagniappe. I'm Don Dubuque.
I'm Chris LeCoq.
I'm Captain Martha Spencer. Join us as we document the adventure,
Sportsmanship,
and heritage that make us Bayou Wild.
We're here in New Orleans East at Chef Menteur Pass, a very popular fishing spot. Great fishing, very accessible, and very close. But it's no secret that things are changing around here, and not always for a bad thing. We're going to be talking about it today with Vanishing Paradise.
I'm Alicia Renfro. I'm a coastal scientist with the National Wildlife Federation, working with our Vanishing Paradise group. Kind of back when I was in school, I did a lot of coastal wetlands work, and I was interested in coastal wetlands in general and got interested in conservation. Louisiana was always the place that really intrigued me though, because the scale of wetland loss is so great compared to almost any place else in the world, and we have so many kind of groups that use the wetlands in very different ways. So if we can figure out how to do coastal restoration in Louisiana, everything else is easy.
We're fishing in the Mississippi River Gulf outlet, called the MRGO. Some people around here just call it the ship channel. Right now we're in St. Bernard Parish, and we're very close to Chalmette. Right on the other side of this flood wall is Chalmette. And in fact, the reason why that flood wall exists is to protect Chalmette from floods that come up here. And we're just fishing this row of rocks that's here to protect the shoreline. You know, this is not an active shipping channel anymore. It was decommissioned after Hurricane Katrina. But, all of this riprap and these rocks are here to protect that shoreline from eroding any further. But the bass just load up in here.
I mean, I've lived in Louisiana for, 7+ years now. And I don't think since I've lived here that I've heard people talk more about mixed bags.
Yeah.
And just kind of the variety and getting excited about catfish, on rod and reel,
Oh, it's fun.
It is fun.
Last year about this time, I took my dad and my son, and we were fishing up against the wall, and I caught, I guess, about a 25-pound flathead.
Nice.
Trout fishing. And
that'll tug.
Yeah, it was a hell of a battle.
You know, right now we're in the MRGO, the Mississippi River Gulf Outlet area. This is an area that the canal was dredged back in the 60s for navigation. It generally wasn't very well used. You had a lot of slumping of sediment. They had to dredge the canal all the time. But one thing that it did do was bring salt water from the Gulf of Mexico up into these historically freshwater wetlands. Most of the ecosystem has not been restored from MRGO. Back in 2009, the federal government undertook a feasibility study to actually figure out how do you restore this ecosystem that was damaged. And they found a lot of projects that they could do, but nothing has really been put in place at this point. They've built some rocks to stabilize the channel.
When you're hungry and you need something quick to do, try Uncle Larry's stewing a few.
You know Uncle Larry, he's my man. He's got stew in a few. He's loading his van, we'll have stew in a few. We'll have stew in a few. Just call Uncle Larry and we'll have stew in a few. What?
This is Don Dubuque asking you to join me as a member of the Coastal Conservation Association. For 30 years, CCA has worked in Louisiana to conserve our incredible fisheries, making sure that our fishing is great today and for generations to come. Whether looking out for redfish and specks, eliminating gill nets, building reefs across the coast, or work at the state capitol and in D.C., CCA is doing what's best for the fish and the sport we love so much. Your $30 membership will ensure that this work and our great fishing endures well into the future. Go to ccalouisiana.com and join CCA today.
In 1967, Dutch Stogner realized his dream to run his own meat market. 50 years and 3 generations later, Double D and the Stogner family still operate with Dutch's original commitment to quality. Pick up some Double D sausage today and share your good times with us on Facebook.
Continuing this week's episode,
We're here in New Orleans East at Chef Mentor Pass, a very popular fishing spot. We're going to learn why it's so diverse and why it's such a great place to fish.
So when I was a kid, the MRGO was basically a saltwater fishery. It was full of croakers, white trout, speckled trout, obviously. It's a lot narrower. But, you know, this ecosystem here has changed dramatically just since the damming of the MRGO. The fishery's really gotten better, in my view, a whole lot better. All right.
When conditions are optimal here, the fishing can be great. Ooh, I got a jumper. Hey! Hello. Take a picture. From speckled trout to redfish, flounder, bass, freshwater catfish, drum. No need to change baits or fishing spots. Any cast can yield a mixed catch.
So this is part of the deal for the bass here. I mean, especially ones this size. Stuff is always trying to eat them. You know, this isn't a place where the bass are at the top of the food chain. These fish get preyed upon by alligator gars and big catfish and sharks and who knows what took a chunk out of this guy, but he'll swim another day. My dad brought a big box full of stuff from my grandparents' house after Katrina. One of the things that he brought was an old map that was released by like WDSU radio. And it was like a fishing hotspot map for the New Orleans area. And it was from like the 1950s. But it was right after the MRGO had been constructed. And it had little pinpoints on the map all along the channel. It showed you where to fish and what to fish for, and what you were likely to catch. And in this part of the MRGO on that map, it was all bass, sac-a-lait, and blue catfish. And as you got farther down past Shell Beach out towards Breton Sound, of course it changed to redfish and speckled trout and mackerel and that kind of stuff. So now that the salinities have come down though, in addition to generally catching trout in this area, the bass have come back and the catfish have come back. And you've even started seeing some guys every once in a while catch a sac-a-lay along these rocks. So it's not like the salinities coming down have turned this into a foreign place.
Do you think Louisiana is on par, above, or behind with, you know, the average rec angler kind of being in tune with what's going on?
I think we're above. I think there's a lot of knowledge in our sportsmen in the area. I think there's been a lot of effort to educate people and make people aware of the issues that we have, and there's a lot of people who are really willing to like step up and talk about these issues.
It's hard plastic day. We're looking for big speckled trout. Let's see what happens. Oh, there's a fish on the Miradine. Not the target species, but still fun.
So if our Vanishing Paradise program is about sportsmen. It's about reconnecting people with nature. So getting sportsmen aware of the issue, letting them like use their voice to advocate for coastal restoration is one of the most important aspects of our work in the Gulf of Mexico.
One of those advocates is Todd Masson. Widely known to sportsmen on the Gulf Coast as Marsh Man Masson, Todd has made a career writing articles and producing videos that inform and educate about these issues. Todd agrees that change is evident, but that change is not always a bad thing.
Definitely get educated. So much misinformation out there, so many myths that are widely believed. You know, I've spent a good part of my career trying to correct a lot of those myths.
Yeah, I think it's really important that as organizations we kind of like come together and work with people who are out in the field, like working these areas. You know, they have a lot of familiarity with the environment and they've seen those changes happening over time, and so they can tell you what they're seeing. They can tell you, you know, where things are moving and what things are present at any given time, and that's such a powerful thing to have, that kind of on-the-ground knowledge and kind of work together to elevate this issue.
Everything you do changes something, it does, and people don't want any change, but of course, every day you do nothing, things change. It's just kind of incremental, it's just slow.
Nice trout, decent little trout. There you go.
All right, show us proper handling technique.
I've really grown to love this place. It's my favorite fishery by far in Louisiana.
He is definitely 12, actually 12 and a quarter. Oh, big red. Big bull red.
I consider myself very fortunate to have been born here and fished my whole life here, and we need to do everything we can to preserve it and maintain it, for sure.
Well, we've done plenty of fishing today, but we're also here obviously to talk about restoration, and that's really the principle of what we're out here for. We're actually standing in front of one at the Golden Triangle. What are we seeing here?
Well, behind us you can see some of the heavy equipment on site. You can see just over the marsh grass here, you can see where they've built kind of a mud bank, and that's called the containment dike. And what they'll do is they'll take around the perimeter of where they're going to restore the marsh and build up that mud, and they'll cut little holes in it so that when they pump the sediment in to rebuild the marsh, the water will run out and you'll be left with, you know, a mud platform where the grass from the marsh can grow up and become habitat.
In past episodes of Bayou Wild, we've highlighted other areas of coastal restoration. Large-scale projects that rebuild entire barrier islands like here at Elmer's Island near Grand Isle. Or sediment diversion and marsh revitalization, such as the reintroduction of fresh water into the Maurepas Swamp. But this project in the Golden Triangle serves a different purpose. So I was talking to my friend about Botox the other day.
Okay.
With Botox, especially with women, they say that if you start getting it younger, when you're a little younger, before things really start to fall apart, it can actually preserve the youthfulness for longer. So, in doing so and working on a project that is not necessarily a completely fallen apart marsh, getting started on it beforehand, would you say that that might prolong something in the long run a little bit longer?
Absolutely. I mean, number one, I need to look into getting some Botox. But number two, you know, when you still have the bones of the marsh left before you come in and try to do restoration, the cost isn't as much. You've got more of an opportunity to restore habitat than you would if it becomes open water.
Right.
And there's no doubt that this area over time, you know, getting battered by hurricanes and not really having a ready available sediment source would become open water if not for the effort to restore the marsh. The cool thing about bringing the salinities down in the MRGO and bringing the salinities down in this area in general is that it gives this marsh much more of an opportunity to stay alive than if salt water was coming in here and killing the submerged vegetation. It's really that submerged vegetation that you see in these lagoons and these bayou banks and in these ponds that's the lifeblood of this marsh. It's where the young fish live, it's what the ducks come to eat. You know, it's the nursery ground. It keeps the water quality good. And so this has given us, you know, this in combination with getting the salinities down, has given us opportunity for this marsh to live for a long time.
Restoration implies you're fixing something that's kind of already fallen apart, but it's more like preservation.
I think the folks who lived in this part of the world during Hurricane Katrina can tell you that it's just a shame that, you know, the Intracoastal here and the MRGO contributed to so much land loss in this area. It really created a funnel for that storm surge to come into these communities. It's a real shame that happened, but I think now we're recognizing, both on a federal and a state level, that it's our responsibility to make up for the construction of these projects and what it's done to the ecosystem. Bring this place back, get it healthier, so that people can fish and hunt and live here for decades to come.
And now we're starting to see some restoration projects that are moving forward. We see, you know, 700 acres in the Golden Triangle area, 2,000 acres over Lake Bourne. But there's a much larger need for restoration, and it's going to take not just like the little funds that we have to cobble together. It's going to take a bigger federal effort, get the federal government involved in actually doing restoration like they should.
You know, a lot of people would rather just be hands off and let nature do its thing. You know, and they want to catch speckled trout 5 minutes from the dock, you know, like we've always done. But that's really not a natural system. That's not the way this system is supposed to operate.
I think we talk a lot about like what we're losing, but we don't get a chance to talk about the things that are actually happening and that we're putting in place, the things that could be put in place.
In 1967, Dutch Stogner realized his dream to run his own meat market. 50 years and 3 generations later, Double D and the Stogner family still operate with Dutch's original commitment to quality. Pick up some Double D sausage today and share your good times with us on Facebook.
At Parish Coffee, we wanted to create a coffee brand that people would love to drink every day. Our medium roast are nice, bright, nutty coffees. Our dark roast coffees are smooth and rich. I think it's important for consumers to recognize that sometimes it's your neighbor that you're supporting. People can go to parishcoffee.com to find the entire selection of coffees.
Delta Marina is Plaquemines Parish fishing one-stop. Get live bait, fuel, ice, tackle, and marine supplies. Then launch into the world's most productive saltwater fishing. Return to the fishing cleaning station, relax in first-class cabins overlooking the bayou, all in Delta Marina's safety video-monitored parking lot. Need a fishing charter guide? Delta Marina can hook you up. Cook your catch in your kitchenette or dine in the upstairs restaurant. Visit Delta Marina for a day or a week. Stop in just off Highway 11 down Rosemarie Drive in Empire. Visit thedeltamarina.com.
Welcome Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Bayou Wild TV. And, of course, Janice Lamont, right? Janice Lamont, you've been a guest on this show already, because I remember your face, and I know you're a great cook. Huh? So what's your relationship to the guys here?
Well, I know Don Dubuque and Martha Spencer and Chris, and
Martha,
got to do a lot of good things with them.
In other words, you have the key to the door.
Yes, absolutely. That's the best key to have.
Well, I know you. Look, I love these guys just as you do, and what a pleasure to have you on the show with us. I know you're a great cook. I know we've done this before, and I have a dish today, y'all, that is just absolutely incredible. We're always searching out food in history, and in Louisiana, that's pretty easy to do. So this is going to be a black-eyed pea battered shrimp. Well, this is a technique that was brought from Senegal and Gambia by the African slaves when they arrived here. They brought the black-eyed peas with them. And, of course, we know today that black-eyed peas pay homage to New Year's Day. Everybody has to have black-eyed peas on the table. Now, we're going to take the black-eyed peas, which are just right out of the can. I mean, they're just right out of the can. So I'm going to throw them in there. And, of course, think of black-eyed peas. It's all starch, right? It's all starch. Now we have a couple other little things we want to put in here. Some flour. We have to add flour. This is the batter we're making for the shrimp. So I'm going to put that in as well. What about a little onion? Why don't you throw that onion in there? Throw that in.
All in there?
Oh, all of it. Oh yeah, throw it in. I'm going to throw that. I'm going to throw the eggs. Yeah, just you can pile it up right here. Do like we do in the kitchen at home. Let somebody else come to clean up, huh?
There you go.
Garlic, y'all. Can you imagine Italian without garlic?
Yeah.
And I'm going to add a little oil in here. I'm going to add a little wine. This is a little bit. Hot sauce, you with me?
Yep, I'm with you.
A little bit mustard powder, and then of course I could season to taste that. Now you ready to put that ready to put that top on? This is the tricky part right here, just to try to get it.
There we go.
I thought you said you were gonna have trouble with that.
No, not, of course not. Not in the kitchen.
How much do you love cooking?
I love to cook. I absolutely love
You would say you cook something every single day?
Pretty much, yeah.
Typical of Louisiana cooking, y'all. That's the way it's done. Everybody's cooking every single day. Now we're going to put in, this is our baking powder. This is our baking powder. This is
I like that baking powder.
I'm going to put this in. And you ready to go ahead and turn it on?
Hit it high?
Yeah, I'm going to put my hand on. Yeah, hit it on high. Just spin it around. And y'all, now we're making the batter that we're going to dip the shrimp into to fry in our oil. This is what it looks like, and I want you to see the consistency of it. See how thick that is right there? This beautiful shrimp here. I'm gonna dip the tail in. I'm gonna put it right down into that pot. Look at that.
Okay.
That batter is gonna cook nice and just really nice on the around it. I'm gonna put another one in here. And it doesn't take long, y'all. It takes just a couple of minutes to get them done. And this is what it looks like when it's all said and done. And that batter is beautiful and crispy. And the shrimp are just absolutely gorgeous right here. Shrimp come out really nice and crispy, just absolutely beautiful. You can just pull that meat off. This is like going to communion on Sunday. This is communion on Sunday. Y'all, I can't think of anything better. Easy to do. Black-eyed peas in the store in the can. You know exactly how to do it. Anyway, y'all jump on it. Just make sure you're picking up the good Gulf shrimp.
Absolutely. How's that taste?
Take a bite. Not that much of a bite.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.
I've been using Louisiana fish fry products so much, even the kids are getting into it.
Flannel bag, pour and boil, a great crawfish every time.
And whether you're boiling crawfish, shrimp, or crabs, Louisiana fish fry products use the perfect blend of garlic, onion, spices, and salt for your seafood boils. So look for the bright yellow bag and pour and boil with Louisiana fish fry products. We've heard time and time again that Louisiana's marsh loses a football field of land per day. It's the main reason why extending the life of our coast should be a top priority. But what we've learned today is that restoration can also be proactive. And we thank Chris, Todd, and Alicia for sharing their expertise and passion for Louisiana's Vanishing Paradise.
In Louisiana, I know change is kind of a constant thing that we've undergone, and we have a tendency to think, oh, this moment is exactly how it's always been. But this is a system that does change. There's more fresh water, sometimes there's more salt water. We're not going to run out of the Gulf of Mexico. We're always going to have that salt water in. We need to have a balance of having the fresh water, intermediate, all the way to the salt water. That way everyone can kind of find where they thrive best.
You know, we've got a lot of work to do, and you know, like everybody else, I want my grandkids to enjoy what I've enjoyed, and we need to do everything we can to preserve it and maintain it, for sure.
We have the ability to fix it. We just need the funds and the resources and the awareness to do it.
We talk a lot about like what we're losing, but we don't get a chance to talk about the things that are actually happening and that we're putting in place, the things that could be put in place.
That awareness starts with each one of us. We encourage sportsmen of our state to stay educated about the health of our coast. It's the foundation that keeps the adventure, sportsmanship, and heritage of Bayou wild.